War. Huh. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Come on, sing it again. I go away for one weekend and the entire world goes up in flames. I don't even think I can take a vacation anymore. Hi, how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to the Newsroom, the War Edition. We are gathered together on X, on Rumble, and that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube, trying to figure out what the heck is going on around here. Crazy. Indeed. And if you're not going to go away mad, just go away. There you go. I mean, seriously, I go away for one weekend, and now we've got a world war. Oh, wait, it's not a war. It's not a war. I'm sorry. And we'll get to that. We'll get to some of that. Man, have we got a lot to talk about tonight, but let me do some introductions as always. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes called the fine fella in the fedora. On occasion, I'm referred to as the chap in the cap, the kid in the lid, sometimes called the common man with common sense. But in this moment, above all else, as always, I am your host. We are on X, we are on Rumble, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So please do me some favors as always. If you're new to this little endeavor that we have, subscribe to my channel on YouTube and Rumble. It would be greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, please share the link with your friends, tell them about us, and leave a comment and chat, hit the thumbs up. Those two things right there, believe it or not, do a lot to push this channel out there in the algorithm. So it do help quite a bit, and we do appreciate it. Glad to have y'all here tonight. Let us see who is in the house. Oh my goodness, so many people to talk to. And we've seen some of them already here. Good evening, Miss Gypsy. Mwah. Glad to have you in the house, darling. Well, apparently she's chiming in. Yeah, don't do that again. Well, what can I tell you? TBA is here. He's in the house. WWG1 is in the house. Everybody else is starting to settle in. We're glad to have everybody here tonight. And all you folks out there on X, all of you, I know you're going to start watching here at some point. Believe me, there's a million and one commentators out there that you could be watching and listening to, and we're glad you're here. We're honored with your presence. Don't be a stranger. Drop a comment. We'll say hello to you. We promise not to bite. We're nice folk. Fedora Nation is a lot of friendly people. So if you're out there on X, hey, let's hear from you. Let's find out who you are and what you got to say out there. So going to be a good night for everybody. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'll tell you how hyped I am. I got hot chocolate on one side. I got Coke Zero on the other. And then I got straight water on ice. So it's crazy. Yeah, I think so. I think that is the case. Poor old Rush. I mean, if y'all know anything about the legendary Rush Limbaugh, he'd go off for 2 weeks or something, and man, all heck would break loose. So, it's just, I think you're right. Guys. I got a bad case of it. Now, wait a minute. We don't, look, there's a certain amount of show prep that I do of varying kinds. And one of them is, if at all possible, to try and take care of those needs before I ever sit down behind the microphone. So I should be okay, but, we'll do our best here. Oh, my goodness. Well, of course, I'm going to mute the mic first if I go to the bathroom. Good God. Oh, my Lord. How terrible. Jeez, Pete. Anyway, glad to have you guys here with us tonight. And, no, I don't wear a Depends. My God, man. Good grief. Yeah, I tell you, the wing nuts are in rare form tonight. Woo. Anyway, glad to have you all here. And we're going to start the show as we are wont to do with the merry memes. And some people might say, Front Porch, we are in the middle of a military conflict. It might be a war. It might not be a war. It might be something. We don't know what it is. But how can you possibly do jokes at a time like this? Listen, If you cannot find a way to laugh through all of this, I'm sorry. You got worse problems than the problems that you're not trying to think about. So let's at least try and find a laugh, okay? So no bourbon, no bourbon, no bourbon at all. We're just, we're just trying to, well, remember too, I gotta drive this online car, as it were. So no, no, we're not bourboning tonight. So anyway. Hmm. So we'll start off with some news that I heard the other day. According to the NFL Players Association, Paycor Stadium, or as some of us football fans still call it, Paul Brown Stadium, received an F plus from the Players Association. Why, you may ask? Well, apparently they have terrible amenities for fans and families. Now, being a Bengals fan, I found this to be very disheartening, but I think I can kind of understand why it is the Bengals got this rating. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me put something up here. We have some video evidence of what the NFL Players Association used as the criteria for their decision. And when you see this, I think you'll understand why it is that the folks at Paul Brown Stadium got this rating. Check this out.
I'll take one terrible beer filled up way too high so I spill most of it, and a too long hot dog on a too short bun. And do you have mustard and relish?
Yeah, it's right there between the entrance and the exit to the bathroom.
Perfect. And can I get a bag of unsalted peanuts? You know, something I would never eat anywhere else in the world?
Sure, here you go.
Great. I can't wait to have diarrhea in the stall with no door while 20 guys wait for me to finish. I'll take one.
Yeah. Okay, folks, I think I begin to understand why it is that Paycor Stadium got the F plus rating that they did. Yikes. Oh boy. If that's any indication of how things are going at the Cincinnati football games, well, don't know what to tell you guys. On another note, most everybody here has watched the very famous movie Forrest Gump, right? I mean, we have all at one time or another, watched that American classic, and we can quote lines from the movie. I mean, the most famous one is "Life is like a box of chocolates." Well, did you know that there were varying versions of that were tried first before they finally came upon that line in the script? And for example, there was this version of it. Mama said liberal women are like a box of chocolate. You never know which one have nuts. Yeah, look, there were certain political overtones in that movie, but if this line did not make it into the film, which quite obviously it didn't, I think I begin to understand why. I mean, even back then, this may have been a little too over the top. Just saying. Anyhow. All right. What else do we have here, folks? Oh, on a more serious political note. You guys heard about Bill and Hillary giving testimony this week, or was it last week? Either way. You guys heard about Bill and Hillary giving testimony in front of the House Oversight Committee as it relates to their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, Hillary had some interesting things to say about it. And you know what? For a woman, according to Hillary, she only met him once. And, apparently once was enough in more ways than one. Well, there you go. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, my God. They'll let anybody in this live stream. Who in the world let this guy in? Hello, Salty. How you doing, sir? A hat tip to you. Good to have you in the house tonight. Now, you should always find someone in your life, particularly your significant other, that is going to help you laugh, or more to the point, help you find a way to laugh. That said, we got something here that I think all of you guys are going to enjoy. And with that, I hope you laugh as much as I did. Check this out.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Okay, I'm sorry. That I don't care who you are. That's funny. That is absolutely hysterical. Now, this also goes to another point. Never, ever, ever underestimate the resourcefulness of a woman. And if you want some proof of that, especially if she's trying to find a way to earn extra money. That said, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Like I said, folks, never underestimate the cleverness of a woman when it comes to trying to find a way to earn extra money. Just saying. All right, what else do we have in the way of the merry memes tonight? You guys remember that old phrase, beware of Greeks bearing gifts? Well, these days it really ought to be modified. Beware of geeks bearing gifts. And let me tell you something. That one right there is that one's not too far from the truth, baby. Not too far from the truth at all. Let's see. Oh. We do have a contribution from the Living Poets Society. Now, see, you come here, you come for laughs, you come for news, but every so often you get a nice mix of culture. I mean, for example, this poet contributed the following. Roses are red, violets are blue. I suck at poetry. Show me your oh, for a heck. Who put this in here? For the love of God, who put this in? Ridiculous. Okay, I just want y'all to know I disavow. Okay. I don't know where this came from. So I'm just saying. I totally disavow. I apologize to everyone, watching or listening or wherever you are out there in internet land. I don't know where this came from. I mean, seriously. Good Lord. I tell you the truth. Oh, let's see. What else do we have here? I may save a couple of these for somewhere down the line. Well, yeah, I think I'm going to save 2 or 3 of these for on another occasion. By the way, the news networks are having difficulty in this, doing live coverage during these military operations that are going on in Iran and Israel and everywhere else right now. Not so much that they can't get a camera crew over there. They just can't seem to keep up with the news. I mean, for example, You had a reporter who was ready to talk about the new leader of, and then just like that, and he's dead. So there you go. There you go. Like I say, the news crews are having quite a bit of problem. Three more. As you guys are aware, the military came up with the name Operation Epic Fury for our current military operations in the Middle East. Did you also know that there is a special department inside the Pentagon that works on coming up with these names? And they went through several renditions before they finally settled on Epic Fury. However, I think I begin to understand why this one didn't quite make it. Yeah. There you go, folks. There you go. I don't know if calling this one Operation Epstein was such a real good idea. Unfortunately, it didn't make the list. All right. One last one, and we will get into it. And this one just kind of speaks for itself because I got a whole lot to say tonight. Yeah, buddy. I hate to say it, but we've all been neoconned. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're going to get into that here in just a minute. All right. I want to thank our good friends, WWG1. I want to thank TBA. I want to thank everybody who's contributed to the merry memes this evening. Much thanks. Much appreciated. And now we're going to get into some serious news. I want to start off tonight with a quote that I have a bad feeling is going to come back and haunt this country for years to come. And it's going to haunt us in terms of foreign policy. It's going to haunt us in terms of our internal politics. It is going to haunt us because I think the damage that's going to be done because of the violation of a promise, the damage is going to be almost incalculable. And if you're wondering what clip I'm talking about, it's this. Campaign 2024, Donald Trump is on the stump somewhere out in America, and he says the following.
I will tell you, you're not going to have a war with me, and you're not going to have a third world war with me. That I can tell you.
Now, does he specifically talk about the Islamic Republic of Iran? No. But Donald Trump promised everybody, you're not. Matter of fact, let me play that again. I want you to hear this. I want this to sink in.
I will tell you, you're not going to have a war with me, and you're not going to have a third world war with me. That I can tell you.
You're not going to have a war with me. You're not going to have a third world war with me. Okay. Anybody really feeling that one right now? Because I'm not. Ladies and gentlemen, we are closer now to an all-out world war, I think, that we've been ever. Well, okay. I can that's an argument to be made. Fair enough. But there are some other considerations, which again, everybody's at liberty to disagree with each other. That's perfectly fine. But man, I am not going to lie to you guys. I cannot come to this microphone tonight and be some kind of wholehearted cheerleader for what's happening. I can't do it. I cannot do it. Well, okay. And again, we're gonna disagree. We're probably gonna wind up disagreeing. Some of us are gonna disagree a lot tonight, and that's perfectly fine. You know, I'm not gonna try in any way, shape, or form to stifle your guys' opinion on this. If you want to disagree with me, have at it. Have at it. But there's some serious problems with how this has gone down, and some serious problems for where this is going right now. And I want to start off kind of with the how we got here. On Friday, when the lady and I were out, I think we were having dinner or we were sitting around watching television, and I happened to be thumbing through X as I want to do, because we were both looking at our phones and watching TV, etc. It's kind of a nice chill Friday evening. I came across the following from Mario Nafal, a news connoisseur himself on X. And man, I about jumped for joy. I looked at the lay. I said, I think we found the off ramp. I think we're there. I think we got it. And it went like this. Now let me back up a second before we read this. Remember what was going on last week. Late last week, the U.S., the Iranians were in Geneva. Oman, or officials from Oman, were serving as the mediators in a negotiation about trying to find a way to avoid a military conflict. And news broke late Friday evening that I thought we had found a way out of this. And it went like this. Omani Foreign Minister Badir al-Busadi says Iran has committed to something they've never agreed to before. All existing highly enriched uranium gets diluted to power plant levels and cannot be converted back. Full International Atomic Energy Agency inspections with no restrictions. The key is the stockpile. Even if Iran wanted to cheat later, they'd be starting from scratch with nothing saved up. 2 carrier groups, 17 F-22s in Israel, the biggest buildup since 2003, and winks of brinkmanship. If this holds, Trump just got more from Tehran than any president in 40 years without firing a shot. Okay? I am not going to lie to you guys. When I read this from Mario Nafal, I about jumped for joy. I thought, we found a way out of it. If Trump takes the deal, we're good to go. Now, that was probably around, I don't know. What time did he post that? He posted that around about 5:30 in the evening. I probably read it maybe a couple, 3 hours later. Went to bed. Then came Saturday morning. And all heck broke loose. At about 2 in the morning on Saturday, we launched operations against Iran. The Israelis had launched operations against Iran. And we were in the middle of a shooting conflict. 2 different carrier groups, airplanes from all over the Middle East, etc. And my heart sank. My heart absolutely sank. It was hard for me because there's a lot of factors that are weighing on in right now. There really are. First question I have, and this is the question that nobody can really answer. How close were the Iranians to a nuke? Larry Johnson, former CIA intelligence analyst, was being interviewed on this very question. And I want to give you guys his perspective on it, okay? Because I think this is interesting. Check this out.
Was a miscalculation that will, the historians will look back at it and just shake their heads and say, what the hell were they thinking? Think of this. The one guy in Iran that blocked for 36 years Iran's ability to develop a nuclear weapon, the one man who stood in the way, who said, we will not build a nuclear weapon, that's the guy the United States killed. So we're sitting there saying.
Now, if you're wondering what Larry Johnson's talking about, During the first hours of the strikes in Iran, we took out the Ayatollah Khamenei, 86-year-old Islamic Shiite cleric, the head supreme religious dude in Iran. Now, you might sit there and go, well, that's a little bit weird. I thought the Iranians wanted a nuke. Yeah, there are elements that want to try and get their hands on a nuke. But did you know, according to various sources, that the Ayatollah Khomeini had issued a official religious declaration, or what they commonly call a fatwa, saying nope, nope. We are not going to pursue a nuclear weapon. And there were elements inside the Iranian government, like, we got to get our hands on a nuke, we get a nuke. And apparently, and again, take this for what it's worth, apparently the Ayatollah Khamenei had issued this religious declaration, this fatwa, and said, nope, we are not going to pursue a nuclear weapon. Nuclear power? Yes, no nuclear weapon. If that is correct, and again, have I seen this fatwa for myself? No, I have not. I'm simply passing along what I've heard to you guys. But if it's true that the supreme Islamic cleric in the Republic of Iran, who basically runs their government, if it's true that he was basically telling the government of Iran, no, we're not going to pursue a nuclear weapon, and we took this guy out, that's a problem. So anyway, back to the rest of from Larry Johnson. There's about 20 more seconds of this. You back it up just a little.
The United States killed. So we're sitting there saying that, oh yeah, we're doing this so Iran doesn't threaten the world with a nuke. The Ayatollah Khamenei, 36 years ago, issued a fatwa, said, no, that is evil. We're not going to go down that path. And the United States killed him, or the Israelis did, or both.
Again, I have a question from the audience. Iranian Republic, let's see, hang on. Now you asked me too quick. Iranian Republican Guard. The full name. Jeez, hang on. There it is. Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Founded in May of 79. Okay. The Ayatollah was already dead. The fatwa could be ignored. That's why Trump took out the government. Well, now, hang on a second, because all the reports that I've seen, and I'm not saying you're wrong, TBA, but all the reports that I've seen said that he was taken out in the initial missile strikes on Saturday. Now, and again, you may be absolutely right. If you got a news article, let me see it. I'm serious. I'd really like to see it. But all the reports that I've seen said this guy got taken out in the first wave of the missile strikes that we launched on Saturday. So, again, I can see your point. But again, whether he died on Saturday or whether he died before, there was at least some kind of a restraining element inside the government of Iran that said, no, we're not going to go down the road of a nuclear weapon. We're not doing it. And whether he died on Saturday or whether he died before, that restraining element is now gone. And if reports are to be believed that we or the Israelis or whomever took him out, there is something to consider. Now, according to reports, and again, take this for what it's worth, according to reports, the Ayatollah Khomeini, not only was he killed, okay, the man's wife, his daughter-in-law, and his granddaughter. So they got the Ayatollah Khamenei, Khamenei's wife, Khamenei's daughter-in-law, and Khamenei's granddaughter in one shot. Okay. There is something to be considered. I give you the perspective from Robert Barnes. The new likely supreme leader of Iran, when they vote in 40 days or so, will be the man who just saw Israel and the U.S. murder his father, his mother, his wife, and his 1-year-old daughter. Really think he's going to want to love on the U.S.? I can't say he's wrong. That's not a bad point. Not a bad point at all. But that also gets to something else. Were the Iranians really pursuing a nuke? I mean, I'm asking a legitimate question here. Were they really being pursued? Were they really pursuing a nuclear weapon? John Kirkow, himself a former CIA agent, was on with Judge Napolitano and gave this perspective on the question of whether the Iranians were really pursuing a nuke.
You know, we're not talking about North Korea today. And there's a reason why we're not talking about North Korea, because North Korea has a nuclear weapon. And so nobody wants to mess with North Korea. Well, the Iranians weren't building a nuclear weapon. There are 2 CIA national intelligence estimates that concluded that there was no nuclear weapons program. Besides,
hold on, I want to stop right there for a second and remind everybody of something, okay? Back in March of 2025, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, and her staff issued a national intelligence assessment in which they said, hey, we've looked at all the intelligence we've got. The Iranians are not pursuing a nuclear weapon at this time. They're just not doing it. Now, mind you, and frankly, stop and think about it. That took some guts, because you have got everybody in the neocon Washington establishment and people all around the world just ramping up the pressure. The Iranians are pursuing a nuke. The Iranians are pursuing a nuke. The Iranians are pursuing a nuke. They're got a nuke. We got it. You know, they're pursuing a nuke. And here comes Tulsi Gabbard and her merry band of DNI agents saying, and no, guys, we've looked at everything. They're not pursuing a nuclear weapon. So I just want to, as you're listening to what Kirkow has to say, just keep that in mind. When he says there's 2 different CIA assessments saying, nope, they're not pursuing a nuclear weapon, just keep that in mind as you're listening to the rest of this.
the fact that Ayatollah Khamenei issued a fatwa decades ago saying there will be no nuclear weapons program. But Benjamin Netanyahu came to the United States dozens upon dozens of times to try to convince whoever happened to be president at the time, and we're going back 4 or 5 presidents, that Iran was an existential threat and that there was indeed a nuclear program, and so Iran had to be destroyed. Well, that was a lie. And now here we are in a hot war, wondering how we're going to get out of it.
TBA. He is dancing in the streets. I was going to save that for a little bit later, but since you brought up Lady Lindsay, I'll just go straight to this clip right now. Y'all better, somebody in Washington D.C. better be on medical alert, because I'm telling you right now, Lindsey Graham is on the edge of having a wargasm. He's so happy he can't stand himself right now. And if you don't believe me, hang on, let me find this right here. Okay. Like I said, I was going to save this for a little bit later, but my God, like I said, let's see. Like I said, the man is right on the edge of having a wargasm. And if you don't believe me, just look at this man's eyes while he's talking. I'm telling you, he's about ready to just like spurg out here.
So I've never felt better about how this ends. It's not if they fall, it's when they fall. It's not us alone, it's us with the region. Europe is now getting into the game. So I want to compliment President Trump for starting something that the world is now gravitating to. This
Yeah, World War.
regime is in its death throes.
Prove that.
The amount of firepower coming in the next day or two from us is going to be overwhelming. And when you add to the mix the Arab capability, then it's going to be overwhelming. The demise of this regime is at hand.
I'll believe it when I see it.
And the goal is to make sure they can never be a threat like they were before.
Okay, I'm sorry. I go back listening to him right now reminds me of one of the oldest rules in sales. Okay. Under promise and over deliver. Okay. Under promise and over deliver. Lindsey Graham just made the classic mistake that every salesman makes at one time or another in their career. He may have just over promised and is about to under deliver. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Salty, what have you done here? Hang on. Hang on, Salty. I gotta see this. Hang on. What did you just post? Yeah. This may be exactly what old Lindsay is doing in the privacy of his own office there on Capitol Hill. I'm just saying, man. Yeah, I think you call that a wargasm. Yeah. No. The Europeans supposedly the British are considered jumping in on this. They really are. And I know TBA, they couldn't, if the British launched a ship right now, I think they're so bad off it'd probably sink before it left port. But yeah, the British are thinking about jumping into this thing. The most well-preserved 75-year-old man I've ever seen. Well, what can I tell you about him? Yeah, well, look, I don't know what is done in the Senate. I don't know what's done in their offices. Who knows? Who knows, my friend? But anyway, going back, you've got two different intelligence assessments issued by our government that say the Iranians are not pursuing a nuclear weapon. They're not doing it. No, and by the way, nobody is sitting there saying the Iranian government is just wonderful and I wish we had more of it. Everybody acknowledges it's a brutal dictatorship. But laying all that aside, you've got two different CIA assessments saying they're not pursuing a nuclear weapon. Okay. You have the supreme religious leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran saying for 30 plus years, we are not going to pursue a nuclear weapon. That is evil. We're not doing it. Okay. And what did we do? Either on Saturday morning or somewhere in between, we took this guy out. The restraint on the government of Iran that kept publicly saying we're not gonna pursue a nuclear weapon, and we just took him out. Just took this guy out. And what are we getting as his replacement? Well, this just came out tonight. Mujtaba Hosseini Khamenei, an Iranian politician, cleric, and the eldest son of the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been elected the next supreme leader of Iran under pressure from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, according to Iran International. This guy right here, according to reports, this guy is the son of the man we took out. Oh, I'll bet you he's feeling real warm and fuzzy right now. So that, if reports are to be believed, that's what we're getting next. And it was the IRGC that helped install this guy. Okay. I have heard that same report. I've heard that exact same report. So again, everything being taken with a grain of salt here. Well, that what I just heard was just in the last couple of hours. So again, there's a lot of stuff floating around back and forth. So, you know, there you go. But so what's the logic behind this? I mean, we know kind of why, maybe, sort of. And that's another problem, too. What's the argument for why we did this? Oh, they've got to stop them from getting a nuke. They're not pursuing a nuke. Oh, they're an imminent threat. Well, maybe not. We'll talk about that here in a second. But one of the arguments that was made was, hey, we just take out the Iranian leadership. Hey, this government's just gonna fall apart. No problem, right? Sam Faddis, former CIA station chief, appearing on the War Room on Saturday, had the following comments to make about that idea. Check this out.
Saying the Persian people, it's going to be your baby. Your thoughts about all this as we're beginning the first day of this major combat operations?
Well, I think first of all, that being the goal and what we have seen in the scale of the deployments by the United States, it is clear we're not talking about a day of airstrikes or 2 days of airstrikes. This is going to be a sustained operation, go on for some time. We can hope that the Iranian regime collapses, and I'll be the first guy to celebrate if that happens, having devoted a big chunk of my life to that cause. But if it doesn't collapse and you've got these guys against their backs against the wall and you've made it an existential fight, you can expect them to lash out in every way they can. And I think increasingly you will see that will be unconventional. They will fight us where they have the advantage, or they can at least stand toe to toe with us. So, and that could be worldwide. That could be on our soil.
It's just saying, some perspective. Now, I want to put this up here, not because I'm trying to get into a fight with TBA, but let's talk about this. Another CIA flunky. How long are we going to keep trusting these idiots? Okay, I grant you, Faddis, Kirkow, Larry Johnson, all former CIA. I understand that, okay? And I can understand the distrust of the CIA. Believe me, I got no great love for the organization, because if you stop and think about it and you go back in history, it was our CIA in 1953 that deposed a democratically elected leader in Persia and helped install the Shah of Iran. Then 26 years later, our CIA again meddled in the affairs of the Iranian people, took out the Shah, and we got stuck with the Ayatollah Khomeini for God knows how many years. So I get it. I understand that. But I'm also saying, hey, you got former CIA guys who are sitting there looking at this thing going, oh, man, this was really not a good idea on so many levels. Oh, yeah, no, that is what I'm referencing. I agree with you. The CIA helped make this mess over the course of, 54 to now is 52, 53 years? I agree with you completely. All I'm saying is, my point is this. You got guys who used to work for the agency who are looking at this situation and going, man, this was really a bad idea on so many levels. Because here's the thing. The argument was made, if we just take out Khamenei and the top leadership of the Iranian government, hey, the whole thing's going to fall apart. The people will rise up and, we'll have, joy and happiness. Does this argument sound familiar to anybody? Does this kind of sound familiar? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My math is off. I stand corrected. You're right. That's 72 years? Okay, my bad indeed. Hang on. I am remiss to say, hello, Lisa Murphy. So if we in Israel screw the pooch with this military action and act in haste outside of giving a false liberation of the populace, Short-lived, most likely. What happens? Now that's a great question. That is an absolutely fantastic question. As a matter of fact, going back to that rising of the populace, hang on a minute. I got a quote here from somebody that I never thought I would find myself necessarily agreeing with. Mark Warner, United States Senator from Virginia, the ranking minority member on the Senate Intelligence Committee, was giving a press briefing. And under normal circumstances, I've got little use for Mark Warner. But, okay, look, the guy sits on the Intelligence Committee. He sees a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't see. Now, you can make an argument what he should or should not do with it, or what he does or does not do with it. But he brings up some interesting thoughts, and I want to play this for you guys.
A question I asked is, when the President of the United States says to the Iranian people, rise up, this is your chance to take your country back. What happens if 100,000 Iranian citizens go onto the streets of Tehran and the IRGC forces, which are brutal, murder 5,000, murder 10,000, murder 20,000? Does the United States of America have an obligation there, since the president called them into the streets? This is still a war of choice that has been acknowledged by others, was dictated by Israel's goals and timelines.
And I want to stop there for a second, because Warner brings up a really good point. And I'm not sure if the policymakers in Washington, D.C. are thinking about this very much. Okay. All right. So the president of the United States calls out to the Iranian people, says, rise up, take back your government. Okay. 100,000 Iranians hit the streets. And the IRGC comes along and mows down about, I don't know, 5, 10, 20,000 of them. What kind of responsibility do we bear in that situation? And is something like that, although Warner doesn't say it in so many words, but I'll ask the question, does that sort of, give us the moral imperative to put boots on the ground to protect the people of Iran? Well, hey, I mean, if this is about, freeing the Iranian people and about regime change, and we're out there calling for the Iranians to rise up against their government, and they're getting mowed down because of what we're saying and doing, don't we sort of have a moral obligation to step in and do something? Or have we even thought that far ahead? Again, and guys, I'm coming to this from the perspective of, look, I think you guys can tell where I'm going with this. I am way not happy about this. Okay. And like I said, I know there are people that are, in the chat right now, either on X or on Rumble or on YouTube. They're going to disagree with me. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. No one is under any obligation to agree with me about this, and everybody is at liberty to say their piece on it. Okay. But man, I don't think a lot of this was thought out. I think we bought off on an argument. Either we bought off on our own wishes and desires, or we got some honey poison poured into our ear from our friends overseas, and we bought an argument, and now it's kind of like, where's the people in the streets? Because it ain't happening yet. But yeah, what is the obligation of the United States when we're telling the people of Iran, rise up, and, and it's not happening, One more clip from Sam Faddis, again appearing on the War Room, maybe either yesterday or today. Hey, Lisa, I can't disagree with you on this. I can't. I mean, and maybe the people of Iran do rise up. Maybe they do. I don't know. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm scared to death. I've invited somebody. I'll get to this clip here in a second. I've invited somebody to come on the live stream. I hope they see my invitation, and I hope they're willing to do it because I'd love to get their perspective on this. I'm not going to drop any names yet until I hear back from them. But yeah, I mean, we're calling out the people of Iran to rise up against a very dictatorial and brutal regime. A regime that's killed thousands upon thousands of its own people over the years, with what looks like little to no support inside of Iran to make that happen. If those people get killed, is there blood on our hands? Now, Salty brings up something, and again, I'm not trying to pick fights with anybody, but I want to respond to this. This new Ayatollah won't get the chance to rule over the ashes of Iran. Okay, now here's my question. And Salty, this isn't necessarily to you, but I'll throw this out there to anybody. What if the Iranian regime survives? I mean, according to reports, we're dropping like bombs from B-2 bombers. We're launching stuff off of aircraft carriers. We're letting go stuff off of cruisers and whatever. What if they survive? What happens next? I mean, you got Lindsey Graham out there having a wargasm saying, "Oh man, the big stuff's coming, man. In 2 or 3 days, we're gonna absolutely drop them and bomb them back into the Stone Age." What if the regime survives? I mean, it's been a long time since we have fought a genuinely protracted war. I'll make an argument we haven't done it since Vietnam. Okay. I mean, we went into, Desert Storm in 91, and in 100 hours, we had that thing whipped. We went into Iraq in 2003. And yeah, we took out Saddam's forces in more or less a matter of a few days. Yeah, we got into a protracted occupation afterwards, but the initial military part of it, man, we were done in a matter of days or weeks. The rest of it was just mop up. It's been a genuinely long time since we've been into a long military conflict. The Iranians, if you'll remember, fought a 7 or 8 year war with the Iraqis back in the 80s. They know what it's like to go through a war of attrition. All right. What if we drop all these bombs and let go with all these munitions and the Iranian regime survives? What are we going to do then? What happens next? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. TBA, a pleasure to see you as always, my friend. Thank you for stopping by. Lisa, you may be right. Yeah, we've been training for over 80 years. I don't dispute any of that. But again, what if this regime survives? Anyway, I said that I had one more clip as it relates to Sam Faddis. I want to play this for you guys.
Was the intelligence good enough about what? Because President Trump, from the very first time he said it, now comes your hour of liberation, right? I do believe people thought that the Khomeini taking out the Ayatollah might have had a bigger impact. But do you see anything in the streets, given the fact that you used to live there? Do you see anything in the streets of Tehran that would lead you to believe there's going to be a popular uprising right now, that the Persian people are going to take this in their hands and overthrow this Islamic Republic overlords?
Steve, I'm going to echo Brandon's sentiment and say up front, I hope I am wrong. But no, I don't see any indication that is happening. And I have never thought that that was a realistic prospect. As I said to you the other day, if there is any prospect for regime change, it'll come from some guys at senior levels effectively staging a coup and saying, we're not riding this thing to the ground. But there's no guarantee at all that that's going to happen either. I think a number of guests have said over the last few days, we ought to stop talking about regime change, make this about degrading capabilities and taking things off the table, and be prepared to, at some point, effectively declare victory and go home. If we're going to ride this idea of regime change, I think it's going to get even uglier.
Okay, the Iranian people do a little bit of mop up. I don't know, man. I don't know. Salty, thank you for stopping by, my friend, and we're glad to have you here tonight. You have yourself a good evening, sir. Glad to have you in the house. I don't know, guys. I'm just really nervous about this. So that sort of begs the question. We know kind of how we got here. We rejected a deal that was on the table to stop Iran from trying to produce a nuclear weapon that they said that they weren't going to do. We're giving an argument, well, if we just take out the senior leadership, that'll be fine. So that sort of begs the question. So what was the immediate threat? Before I get to that, WWG1 says, is this about regime change where we install our own puppet, or is it a change where the Iranian people choose their own leaders? That's a great question. I mean, is this, CIA coup number 3 where Iran is concerned? We helped take out the, what was the name of the leader back in 54? Mogadishu in 54. We took out the Shah in 79. And what are we getting ready to do? Take out the Ayatollah and put another somebody back in? I don't know what we're doing here. I'm hearing regime change. I'm hearing degradation of weapons. I'm hearing all kinds of, I have no idea where we're going. Granted, I think you're right. But what is it? I don't know. What does it look like? Who could say? And why did we do this? Why now? Why all of a sudden did we do it? Well, here's Donald Trump the other day on why we may have launched these weapons as soon as we did. Check this out.
Let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. but they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us.
Okay. So we did this on the argument that they had ballistic missiles and they were going to be a threat to our military, either locally in the area, possibly in Europe, who knows, maybe even the United States. It's just one little problem with that. Pentagon doesn't even agree with that assessment. I got a story here from Reuters. Pentagon tells Congress that there's no sign that Iran was going to attack the U.S. first, sources say. Article by Phil Stewart and Humaira Pamuk. Dateline Washington. Trump administration officials acknowledged in closed-door briefings with congressional staff on Sunday there was no intelligence suggesting Iran planned to attack U.S. forces first. Two people familiar with the matter launched their most ambitious attacks on Iran in decades on Saturday, killing Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, sinking Iranian warships, and hitting more than 1,000 targets so far, officials say. But Sunday's remarks to Congress appeared to undercut one of the key arguments for the war made by senior administration officials. They told reporters the day before that President Donald Trump decided to launch the attacks in part because indicators that Iranians might strike U.S. forces in the Middle East, perhaps preemptively. Trump, one of the officials said, was not going to, quote, sit back and allow American forces in the region to absorb attacks. Pentagon officials briefed Democrat and Republican staff of several national security committees in both the Senate and the House for more than 90 minutes on the unfolding U.S. attack in Iran, White House spokesman Dylan Johnson said earlier in the briefings. Administration officials emphasized that Iran's ballistic missiles and proxy forces in the region posed an imminent threat to U.S. interests, but there was no intelligence about Tehran attacking U.S. forces first, the two sources, speaking on condition of anonymity, told Reuters. Trump said the attack, which expected to run for weeks, aimed to ensure Iran could not have a nuclear weapon, contain its missile program, and eliminate threats to the United States and its allies. So on the one hand, you got Trump saying, hey, they had ballistic missiles, they were going to hit the U.S. with it, or Europe, or our bases in the Middle East. On the other hand, you got the Pentagon saying, no, there's no evidence that Tehran was going to attack us first. Oh, and it gets even better. If you think that was bad, Marco Rubio the other day. Oh my God, you got to hear this. If you probably already have. You know what? I'm just putting this up here. Forget trying to introduce it. This is Rubio after he gives a briefing, I guess, to the House and Senate, the Gang of Eight. Check this out.
The United States conducted this operation with a very clear goal in mind. I haven't got a chance to see a lot of reporting. I don't understand what the confusion is. Let me explain it to you, and I'll do it once again as clearly as possible. Perhaps you'll report it that way. The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets.
Okay, now hold on a minute. So we're doing an operation to eliminate their ballistic missiles and their naval capabilities. Okay, well, according to all reports that I've seen, their naval capabilities are limited really to the Persian Gulf. They don't have ships big enough, or let me rephrase that. They don't really have the kind of Navy that does well in what's called Blue Ocean. Okay. We've got aircraft carriers. We can put them all over the world if we want to. Okay. The Iranian Navy is smaller and older. Really, it's the reach of the Iranian Navy, according to the things I've seen so far, is more or less inside the waters of the Persian Gulf. What threat is that to the U.S.? No. Don't get me wrong. Could you outfit some of those ships with some nasty stuff? Oh, yes, you could. So I get that. But you're telling me that we don't have the kind of weapons capability on our own Navy to take care of that kind of stuff? According to all reports so far, we've obliterated their Navy. Their Navy's done. Okay. So ballistic missiles and Navy capabilities. Okay. Let's hear the rest of it.
That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Back that up a second. So let me get this straight. The Secretary of State for the United States of America is making the argument that the president was advised the Israelis. I got to hear this again just to make sure I heard this right. Hang on.
And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action.
All right, so we knew there was going to be an Israeli action.
We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces.
Okay, the Israelis make an attack. We knew that was coming. We knew that would precipitate action against our forces.
And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
I can't believe this. No, yes, I can. But still, some of that doesn't make any sense. Let's talk about this for a minute. Yeah. That doesn't. Okay. We have been building up forces in the Middle East for months, getting ready for something. Okay. Supposedly, it was on the argument that if these negotiations with the Iranians go, then we're ready to do something. We're ready to rumble. Okay. Now you've got Marco Rubio out there saying, hey, we were advised the Israelis were going to go in and attack. We knew that if they attacked, the Iranians would strike back against us, and to keep the casualties from going higher than what they would otherwise be, we preemptively hit them first. Huh? What? But again, going back to that report from Reuters, there's no evidence that the Iranians were going to hit us first. No evidence they were going to hit us first. We knew apparently the Israelis were going to hit them first. So basically, and here's the question that I've got. Here's the question that I have. So basically, our Secretary of State just said that our decision to attack Iran is more or less because the Israelis were going to do it first? I mean, look, I'm just going to be blunt with what I'm about to say here. And I apologize if this offends anybody. But basically what you're saying is we're holding the leash of an Israeli attack dog. And if we don't hang on to that leash real tight, then the bite that the Israeli attack dog is going to put on somebody is going to be worse than if we'd have just, held on normal. Is that what we're saying here? I have used the analogy before. Being a friend of the current government of Israel is like a buddy who calls you up on a Saturday night at 8:00 and says, "Hey, I'm going out for one beer. Come on, I need a wingman." In your head, you're going, "Yeah, this isn't a real good idea, but hey, it's my buddy. I'm going to go out and be his wingman." Then at 3 a.m, you're both laying in the gutter, drunk as skunks. The cops are sitting there reading your rights because, one beer turned into God knows how many, and y'all are on your way to the Huskow. That is what being a friend of the current government of Israel is like. How many, and I genuinely hate asking this question, but how many misadventures in the Middle East have we been sucked into because of Benjamin Netanyahu? How many things have we had? How many fights over there we've had to try to break up because of Benjamin Netanyahu? Now, and by the way, I got into a discussion with a family member of mine the other night. They said, "Well, aren't we supposed to, back up Israel and bless them and, be as?" I said, "Hey, I make the distinction. I have no qualm with the people of Israel. My qualm is with Benjamin Netanyahu." WWG1 asked the question, "Is it possible that everything coming out of Rubio's mouth is just to keep us second guessing? Remember, Trump said that we would never again telegraph our moves to the enemy, including post-action." Okay, fair point. That is possible. Possible. But if Rubio's telling the truth here, that we knew the Israelis were going to hit them first, basically it's one of those deals where Israel's looking at us going, "Hey, I'm going in. What do you want to do?" I don't like that idea. If it's true, and again, I saw it earlier. Someone said fog of war. There's a lot of fog of war right now. I mean, and by the way, talk about Rubio's comment. I saw this tweet and it's just priceless. Rubio saying what he said is the equivalent of this: "I knew my teenage son was going to get into the liquor cabinet after I fell asleep and then go street racing. To prevent that, I drank all the booze myself, got in the car, and crashed it into the nearest oak tree. It was the responsible thing." That is basically Rubio's argument in a nutshell. You knew that your teenage son was going to get into the liquor cabinet after you went to bed. So to stop him from doing it, you got in the liquor cabinet first. You drank all the booze. You took the car out and you crashed it. That's Rubio's argument. Why did we do this? To keep the Israelis from doing it first. It's just incredible. Forgive me, but what happened to the old doctrine of we're not going to do something unless it's in our vital national security interest? We're not going to do something unless there's an imminent threat. Where's the imminent threat? According to our Pentagon, Tehran had no intention of launching any strikes against us preemptively. What are the possibilities we're being led around by the nose by the Israeli government? I'm sorry, call me cynical if you wish, but that's a legitimate question. What are the possibilities we're being led around by the Israeli government? The greatest superpower in the world, the last superpower in the world, supposedly, and the Israelis just marching us around. Mike Johnson, who attended the same briefing that Marco Rubio was in. Check this out.
they had to evaluate the threats to the U.S., troops, to our installations, to our assets in the region and beyond. And they determined, because of the exquisite intelligence that we had, that if Israel fired upon Iran and took action against Iran to take out the missiles, then they would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personnel and assets. We have troops in harm's way, and we have many Americans in the region, and that was of a great concern. If we had waited for all of those eventualities to take place, the consequences of inaction on our part could have been devastating. We don't know at what magnitude, but you can assume, because it is common sense, that if Iran had begun to fire all of their missile arsenal, short and mid-range missiles, at our personnel and our assets and our installations, we would have suffered staggering losses. And if we
So again, let me get this straight. We knew the Israelis were going to hit them first. The Israelis apparently told us they were going to hit them first, and we hit them to prevent our casualties from being higher. I have a question. Why can't we control the Israelis? Well, they're their own sovereign nation. They can make up their own mind. I don't disagree with you. But if the choice comes down to tell the Israelis to cool it, or our people get hit, therefore we got to go first, I think that's a whole lot better for us if we tell the Israelis, cool it. I mean, seriously? Who's the superpower here? The United States or Israel? Apparently it's Israel. They can lead us around by the nose and get us to do whatever they want to the benefit of their foreign policy. Maybe not ours. But again, I want to play the first part of that statement because you guys need to hear this.
to the U.S., to our troops, to our installations, to our assets in the region and beyond. And they determined, because of the exquisite intelligence that we had, that if Israel fired upon Iran and took action against Iran to take out the missiles, then they would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personnel and assets.
Well, yeah, that may be the reason we can't tell the Israelis to go pound sand. Yeah, I've heard that said on more than one occasion. I'll never forget Pat Buchanan's legendary line about Capitol Hill being Israeli occupied territory. So again, Mike Johnson is more or less confirming what Rubio said. We knew the Israelis were going to launch first, and to keep it from getting worse than what it otherwise could have been, we launched ahead of the Israelis. As opposed to us looking at the Israelis and go, hey, BB, shut up, sit down and shut up. Learn to get along with your neighbors without trying to kill all of them. How about that? Unbelievable. And again, I'm gonna shout this from the rooftops.
Let's also be clear. I've said before, I've said now, there was no imminent threat to the United States of America by the Iranians. There was a threat to Israel. We equate a threat to Israel as the equivalent of an imminent threat to the United States, then we are in uncharted territory.
Now, Mark Warner, dislike him, like him, you can do whatever you want, but he's got a valid point. Is this basically where we're at? Is this basically what we've come to? That a threat against Israel is now a threat against the United States? Or switch it around. A threat against the U.S. is a threat against Israel. We are so joined at the hip to the current government of Israel that one threatened is the same as the other one threatened. I mean, again, take Mark Warner however you want. If you can like him, not like him, that's entirely up to you. I normally don't have any use for him, but right now he's making perfect sense. There was no according to our own Pentagon, Tehran had no intention of launching something preemptively against us. Now, Israel may have been threatened by what they were doing, but we weren't. But in the name, I guess, of helping Israel out, we went first. Is that what we're saying here? I just, believe me, the past 3 or 4 days have got me absolutely shaking my head. And where are we going with all this? Well, hang on a minute. Now I'll pull it up. Because I was checking this out earlier today. Crude futures right now are running about $75 a barrel. And the market will open back up again at 8:15 tomorrow morning. What else have we got going on? Well, this wonderful little piece of news. Qatar Energy halts liquefied natural gas output. European gas prices jumped by more than 30%. Oh, I hear you. I hear you, girl. I hear you. Oh, hang on a minute. I think I've got the BB clip that you're referring to. Benjamin Netanyahu the other night went on Hannity. Gee, there's a shock. Maybe the only place on network television that will have him on without him getting verbally crucified. Netanyahu had the following to say.
Iran, for 47 years, has been chanting death to America, death to Israel too. But you're the big Satan, we're the small Satan. Death to America. They've murdered and maimed thousands of Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan with their IEDs. These are roadside bombs. They bombed your embassies. They tried to assassinate Donald Trump, the president of the United States, twice.
Prove that. I'm serious. Prove that.
They've murdered their own people. They massacred so many. And they spread a worldwide web of terror. So this is a regime committed to destroying the United States of America. It's the only country on the...
Call me crazy, but why do I have the strange feeling that if we left them alone, they maybe might just leave us alone? And again, do not get me wrong. I am not excusing the brutality of the Iranian regime. I am not excusing 40 or 50 years of recent history. Because in one sense, Netanyahu's absolutely right. The regime in Iran is guilty of a lot of blood on their American blood on their hands, either directly or indirectly. But a lot of what he's saying right now just feels like gaslighting. Anyway, back to the rest of the clip.
Planet that says so openly and works tirelessly to achieve that goal.
So yeah, there's from old Benji. I tell you the truth. And where are we going from here, you might ask? Well, this is from the UK Telegraph. Israel invades Lebanon and voices from inside of Tehran. U.S. obliterates Iranian Navy, which, by the way, be on the lookout. We may be about ready to start using American ships to start escorting oil tankers through the Straits of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf. And as if things weren't interesting enough, I got a story here from Axios. Trump calls on Kurdish leaders in Iran war effort. Story by Barak Ravid. And Mark Caputo. We got the following. President Trump spoke with Kurdish leaders in Iraq on Sunday to discuss the U.S.-Israel war with Iran and what might come next. 3 sources with knowledge of the calls told Axios. The Kurds have thousands of soldiers along the Iran-Iraq border and control strategic areas that could be significant as the war develops. Iraqi Kurds also have close ties to the Iranian Kurdish minority. Oh, great. We may be about ready to drag the Kurds into this thing. Oh, my Lord. Just. And, but now you're out there thinking to yourself, hey, won't you be glad when this is over with? Oh, no, this isn't going to stop. This isn't going to stop at all. Anybody thinks this is going to end with Iran? No, it's not. The Israelis are already eyeing Turkey, and guess where we're eyeing next? Listen to this.
Is President Trump finished the job that President Reagan failed to do. I am a big admirer of Ronald Reagan, but I'm here to tell you that Donald Trump, in my opinion, is the gold standard for Republicans, maybe any president, and when it comes to foreign policy. Maduro, everybody talked about him. Well, Donald Trump's got him in jail. Cuba's next. They're going to fall. This communist dictatorship in Cuba, their days are numbered. The Iranian regime, the mothership of international terrorism, is about to collapse.
But what are you going to get after it falls? There's the $1 million question. We keep saying, no, it's up to the Iranian people to decide what kind of government they have. Number one, what if the regime doesn't fall? And number two, assuming that it does, do you have any idea what you're going to get next? No, you don't. But hey, just as soon as we get through screwing up Iran really good, or let me rephrase that, screwing up Iran a little bit more than we already have for the past 70 years, now we're going to go down to Cuba and take care of Fidel's relatives or whoever's running Cuba right now. And we're just talking about the foreign policy implications of what's going on. We aren't even talking about the politics. And let me tell you something right now, and this is just my opinion. I could wind up being wrong, but I'm telling you what. Remember that clip that I played at the very beginning where Donald Trump said, hey, tell you one thing, we're not going to get into a foreign war. We're definitely not going to get into World War III while I'm here. Remember that? Why does that have the feeling of read my lips, no new taxes? I mean, there is no good upside whatsoever to this. Even if the United States is successful in all this, taking out the regime in Iran, absolutely eliminating their ballistic missile program, scooping up all the enriched uranium, every ounce of it that Iran has, there is no good upside politically for this. George Herbert Walker Bush won the first Iraq war in 100 hours and lost the election about a year and a half later. Keep your eyes tonight on Texas, the Senate primary. I totally agree with this. Totally agree with this. This doesn't just stop at the U.S. border. The implications of what we're doing are going to affect everyone for generations to come. Yeah. Well, that's a whole other live stream to get into that subject. Oh my Lord. Folks, I pray for each other. Pray for our troops. Right now, as it stands, we have reportedly lost 6 service members in this whole thing. Yeah. Oh, this could get ugly. No, not ugly. This could get fugly. Absolutely fugly. Just saying. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah. Pray. Absolutely pray. Well, all right. Tell you what, guys, we're going to bring the train into the station. And I want to thank you guys for giving me a chance to talk about some of this tonight. And thank you for all the contrary opinions, by the way. Thank you for sitting in with me and talking about all this. Cause like I say, this is man, this is going to get bad, I think. And I really, really, really hope I'm wrong. I really do. But anyway, we're going to save some of these memes for our next gathering, which at this point should, unless something breaks major, okay? At this point, I'm planning on front porch brunch this Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m. And we will get back together because there's a bunch of stuff still going on. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen between Wednesday and Saturday, so we definitely got to get to there and talk about it. But in the meanwhile, thanks for being here tonight. I love you guys. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. And while you're at it, hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment tonight. I would really appreciate that. Anyway, I love you guys very much. Thank you for being here. And oh, well, thank you, WWG1. I genuinely do appreciate that. I really do. No, I want to let you guys have your say. I mean, this show is as much for you as it is for me. Well, now, like I say, who knows? Something big might break loose and I come back to the microphone before Saturday. But as it stands right now, I'm planning on Saturday morning, but we'll see what happens. I mean, you just never know. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, love you guys very much. Thank you for being here tonight. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, more money." I love you guys. Pray for each other. Pray for our troops. Pray for our president. Pray for our Congress. And we'll catch up with you later. Have a good night.